Hey you, yeah you who clicked on this video. Thanks for giving our channel a shot. And if you will, please do us the honor of watching the video all the way through. Appreciate it. Now onto the video. Halo Episode 2, Unbound. Let's talk about it. So, Episode 2 starts out with a flashback on Reach 22 years ago, in which 117, who we know is Master Chief, aka John, is dressing and looks like he's trying to go AWOL and notices that number 66 is missing. So we see that John then meets up with his friend who is number 66 named Soren, and they meet outside, and he tells Soren that he's not going, that he's not going to abandon the Spartan program. And Soren tries to reason with him. He's talking to him, talking to him about freedom and and how basically that everything that they're doing to them in the program is trying to break down their humanity and make them compliant and lose their freedom. And at this point, John, he puts a rifle, and trains it on Soren, but Soren is able to get John to lower the rifle and give him 5 minutes to escape. Now, I don't know about you guys, but like this scene is interesting, but at the same time, like they are really framing the UNSC and Halsey in particular to just be these monstrous, terrible entities. A lot of nuance I feel like is missing as far as what prompted the creation of the Spartan 2 program. And, it's interesting, but at the same time, I just don't like the framing of this, especially if you're a fan of the video games. I feel like you understand exactly what I'm saying. So then we get to the present, and John is reflecting on the events of the past, and Quan is entranced by slip space and how it works, and she's just marveling at how it looks. And John then tells Quan that he's not sure how he triggered the artifact. And they have this conversation about, why he didn't execute her. And, and she's like, well, it's wrong. And he's like, exactly, it's wrong. And it's so interesting, but at the same time, it's kind of disheartening because his helmet is still off. And just seeing him with no helmet for like these long periods of time is really irritating. Like I said, I know this is Hollywood. I know that they want to be able to be seen, but the character of Master Chief is not that type of character, and just to see his face continuously is just a source of irritation. So, then we go back to Reach. Halsey and one of the highest ranking generals is talking about the fate and the situation involving Master Chief, and then Halsey basically is manipulating the general by saying that her and the admiral have a plan to keep the Spartans from going rogue, in which case she has not actually discussed this in detail with the admiral and is really going to spring this on her in the council meeting. Then we get to Silver Team. Silver Team is really worried about Chief, because he is their leader, and more importantly, he is their friend. If such a thing really exists for a Spartan outside of Halsey's orders. So then Chief and Quan exit slip space into an asteroid field. I actually like the scene. There's a lot going on here. A lot of pretty nice special effects. They're not the best I've seen, but they're not the worst either. Chief navigates the asteroid field no problem, and they come to a hidden station among the asteroid. The natives of this station are not feeling Master Chief, or any Spartan for that matter. And Quan is very worried about their prospects in this place, and Chief tells her to calm down, it's all good. Now, one thing that was cool is the demonstration of strength of a Spartan, because these people try to block his path with a forklift, and he easily moves the forklift out of their way, no problems. Now, then we get to a scene where Soren is now seen as an older man because time has passed. And we see that Soren is now played by Bokeem Woodbine. I like this brother. He really does a good job in most every role that he's in. So it was cool to see him. However, I don't know if I like him in this role. And so as our pleasantries are exchanged, Soren informs Quan that the new resistance leader on Madrigal has a bounty on Quan's head, and that he is essentially a puppet of the UNSC. So they get on this really rickety train and go through the innards of the asteroid. And as they're doing this, Soren is talking about how he's free, and the underground in this place looks suspiciously like Zion from the Matrix trilogy. But I'm not gonna harp on that too bad. But I mean, come on, man, like y'all could do better. So then we get to their destination and we meet Soren's wife and son. So we see the freedom afforded to Soren from leaving the Spartan 2 program. He now has a place to call his own. He is a pirate, and he has a wife and son that he loves very much. So then we get to High Charity Covenant Command, and here we go again with the basically human who is, I guess, a chosen one or a leader of some sort in the Covenant now. And, she basically berates this brute survivor and interrogates him. And he is telling her about basically what they call a keystone, but I do believe he's talking about one of the Halo rings. And the council will not allow this girl to go and retrieve the keystone on her own, even though she's, trying to get them to let her do it. But they don't really feel like they're really questioning her loyalty, but they're not outright saying it. And so she, basically prostrates herself in front of them to show, remind them of how loyal she is. And so they give in and are going to let her go and do it. So then we get Captain Keyes talking about the puppet leader that they've installed on Madrigal. And in this council meeting, they are discussing Master Chief's punishment and that it's going to be severe. But the main general, he's like, no, we can't do that. Master Chief is the symbol of the war effort, and it will bring down morale severely if we try to do this. Rather bring him in, and get him back under control, in which Halsey reveals the Cortana program and explains how it works and everything like that, and that if the Spartans are paired with the Cortana system, that they will effectively be under control. And she then mentions the Admiral, in a real just crazy manipulation move, and says, oh yeah, we've been working on this for a while, it's cool. Admiral got this look like, I don't know what the hell you talking about, but she gonna go along to get along because she don't want to look like a fool in front of her superiors. So, it goes, and they're able to, basically cement the Cortana program. There's a little bit of pushback for the simple fact that apparently this had been presented before, but Halsey had been, let's say, breaking the rules completely by, using human cloning, which apparently is just not allowed. But, being that the situation is what it is with the Covenant and Master Chief, they kind of just sweep it under the rug and rubber stamp that. So then we go to Madrigal, and, we have Madrigal's new leader basically rhyming as he's shooting, followers or devotees of Quan's father in the head. Then he ends with shooting Quan's drone, which he was using to spy on what's going on in Madrigal. Quan and Soren's wife talk about the losses that they've both endured due to the Covenant. Then we go to a scene where Soren shows John what he could have had, had he gone with him 22 years ago and, left the Spartan 2 program. Soren seems very interested about the artifact that's in the box, and Soren explains that the treatments have dulled Master Chief's senses, but they're not permanent. They're only permanent as long as you allow them to be permanent. And, he's really pushing hard on Chief, basically to get him to, leave the Spartan program. I don't even know if you could do such a thing at this stage in the game, but, he seems hell-bent on making him do it. And, then Soren's wife basically is like, leave John alone. Like, it's, stop pushing. So, we get to that point, and then we see Soren's son, Kessler. He stamps John's hand with a happy face, and Soren, goes on, a little diatribe about how that means that Soren's son, Kessler, trusts John or whatever. So then we go down to the Stalwart Dawn frigate, Silver Team is searching for Chief, but they're not being able to find him due to his beacon being off. Doctor and the Admiral then talk about Halsey's manipulation of funding, even though, she's talking about her mother in this scene. She seems very contemptuous of the idea that, things are not going her way as far as getting, preferential treatment for her research. So then we go back to the station. John reveals the artifact to Soren, and then Quan spills all the beans and just tells Soren everything, which, kids, what are you going to do, right? And that the artifact doesn't seem to work for anybody but Chief so far. So Soren recommends that Chief talk to a man that had been on a Covenant ship named Rev. And so we see that Rev is in, I guess it's like an insane asylum, or maybe it's a jail, or maybe it's both. They don't really have a lot of resources. Soren and John kind of leave Quan with the rest of the inmates just inexplicably, so that was weird. So then we meet Rev, and Rev he behaves more like a dog than a man. I guess it's due to the treatment that he's endured under the Covenant. Quan meets Rev and is and Rev is really interested in her for some reason, not really sure why. So he touches the artifact in an act to show that, he's not one of the, what he calls blessed ones. And that he can't make the artifact work, but he does force Chief to activate the artifact by putting it in his hands. Chief then sees another more detailed flashback about his childhood and his father. We still don't really know the significance of that in the show. And the Covenant needs the blessed ones in order to open the Halo ring. So Rev tells John if he really, is working for humanity, he'll destroy the artifact and destroy himself to stop what he calls the darkness. So at this point, Chief kind of loses it on Rev, then he storms out, takes the artifact with him, telling Soren that he needs Silver Team's help. And Soren then tells, Chief that he's basically just going back to his security blanket, i.e. Halsey and the Spartan program. At which point John tells Soren to keep Quan safe. So we're finally getting rid of Quan. And finally, Chief puts his freaking helmet back on. Oh my God. So Chief leaves the station, returns to the NSC, turns his beacon back on so that they can bring him back in. So Silver Team is bringing John back in. He's placed in restraints, and he then meets with Halsey. Halsey goes to inspect the artifact. Chief and Halsey talk about the backlash because of Chief's actions, and he tries to tell her about the visions that he's having, and she just completely shuts him down. Because honestly, she's not interested in anything but using Chief as a weapon and furthering her own ambitions. Quan watches the new leader give some sort of hollow speech in which they're basically talking about working with the UNSC because, as we know, he is a puppet ruler. Halsey asks why John couldn't let Quan die, and simultaneously we see the blessed one of the Covenant, undressing and revealing her numerous scars. We don't really know the context in which she got them. And then at the end of the episode, we see Halsey activate Cortana. So that's the end of the episode. It was better than the first episode as far as, not just being completely stupid, but, it wasn't great either. Like I say, just way too much time with Chief with the helmet off, way too much demonization of the Spartan program and the UNSC. But I feel like this episode was at least a little bit better as far as showing, diversity and leadership, because the first episode is just wall-to-wall girl boss. And this kind of showed that there's a more diverse leadership in the UNSC. I'm still not okay with the Covenant having any type of leadership from a human. It just doesn't make sense. But, add to the girl boss quota, I suppose. So we'll see how the third episode goes, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below, and we'll see you on the next one. 8-Bit Heroes out. Peace. If you'd like to get a shout out on the channel, then hit that like button, maybe share it with a couple of friends, and do us the biggest honor of all, and subscribe to the channel so you can join the 8-Bit Heroes family. And while you're at it, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when our new videos come out.